Well, welcome to the friendly confines of the show. This is Greg Selber and Jake Berry. We were back to do our thing on a weekly basis. Last week was kind of we had some ball games, we had some more weather, but now, Jake, it's going to get fun because for 5A and 6A, we got district started.
Yeah, and for a lot of teams, they've got to come back from some tough losses, like Edinburgh North.
Yeah, they do.
They've had a couple tough losses in a row. There's some other teams that are looking for their first win.
Mm-hmm. And so district starts and everybody is undefeated, right? But you have the legacy of the things that you either achieved or you haven't achieved that follow closely behind. The extent to which teams can improve and the extent to which some teams fail to improve, that will spell the district race. I'm looking forward to it, man. So let's get right in there and talk about the 6A districts, of which now we know there are 3. Let's start with 31 right in the middle. Biggest game, I think, like you said, Edinburgh North. They took it on the chin from Memorial, man, but when you got the kid running like that, 213 at the half, 91-yard touchdown, nobody was going to beat them that night. I know, and I'm not saying North played particularly well because it didn't, but Memorial played wonderfully that night.
Yeah, they did, and it was all capsulated by that 8-yard run by Spates to start the game from the 1-yard line.
Right.
I wasn't there. You were the one that told me on that when I saw the highlights.
That's right.
And then a 91-yard run.
Second play of the game, you're down 7-0. North really never recovered. Let me tell you, the Memorial defense, somewhat maligned in the past by some, I thought it played a pretty good ball game.
It did.
Yeah, it really did.
Their corner stepped up. They were able to take away a lot of the long balls that Edinburgh North had been relying on for the past 3 games.
Michael Cantu was a target. Both Gutierrez and Salazar, 22, Ozzy, they both played a good ball game. They had a lot of kids playing ball. Lucas Rios, the middle linebacker, he was a great player, and he said something that really stuck with me, that they have more balance on defense. It's not just 2 or 3 guys making the tackle. Well, okay, so that's Edinburgh North's problem. Now they're 2-2. They got Weslaco East. They almost didn't get to 4-0, did they?
No, they almost lost to La Jolla. They had to come back.
Shocker of the week.
Yeah, and La Jolla threw the ball, which is something that you never saw from the old La Jolla team.
Right.
They would rather just run the ball.
That's right.
And lose rather than pass. This was different. They had a 36-yard little pass play.
Joel Casas, the guy had 119 yards. He was one of those guys we touted in the beginning, had yet to get going, but I'll tell you what, La Jolla deserves a lot of credit. So East comes in 4-0, Edinburgh North 2-2. They play at Cat Stadium on Friday. What's going to happen?
Well,
fireworks?
It's going to be a quick game because East is going to run the ball.
Yes, they are.
And North is going to rely on Whiteside, who I had a chance to talk to Coach Sines on Saturday in the volleyball game. He noticed what we saw was that he wasn't hitting that first hole. He was dancing a little bit.
A little bit of dancing. He only had 16 yards in the first half. I chalk that up to the fact that there were not very many holes. The Memorial defense, again, deserves a heck of a lot of credit. If they play that good a whole season, that may win district for them.
Now, in a comparison, East has a very big defensive line.
Right.
It's the same as Cal Memorial.
Well,
so North's going to see the same kind of line.
Yeah, I think they will. So it's incumbent upon the Cougar line to improve. Now, those guys coming in were a relatively new group. Yermaine Gonzalez is the main veteran there. I'm not going to say it's on them, but if North wants to have a solid effort like it had the first couple of weeks, they must have a good game, and I believe that they'll be improved as they performed against the other team, which is Memorial. The other team, yes. You know, that dreaded other team I forgot for 2 seconds. All right, so that's a very good game. PSJ North of Weslaco, you say, why is that a good game? They're both 1-3, but it is a good game.
It's a sleeper game because I think Weslaco, losing to Harlingen in the way they did by 1 point, it's such a tough loss.
Yeah.
They've got to go against a PSJ North team that can put up points.
They'll always come back. It's only a matter of time before a team with that resilient nature is able to get a win. Now, what you would like to say if you're the Raiders is let's not get behind.
Yeah.
But they get behind, they come back. They're a hitting ball club. All the highlights we get of the Raiders, they're popping somebody. So I feel like Weslaco better be ready. Even though it's at home, Weslaco, I'm telling you, just mark it down. They'll be a factor in the race. But it has to start here because enough is enough, man. 1-3, and I told you at the beginning, they could go 0-4 and win district. We'll make it 1-3, and they could still win this district if they get it together. I feel strongly about Weslaco still.
I do too. I think that their offense, they know what they run.
Yeah.
At PSJ North, it's a brand new offense, but I'm really impressed with what they've done because they picked up the offense so fast.
Look, neither team has a loss yet in district. Who wants to take that first step toward contention, and who wants to try running from behind? I can't tell you who I think is going to win. It's going to be a good game. Now, Economedes at PSJ Memorial, they're both 2-2. Each team has had its moments on the season.
They have. I think we thought Economedes was going to be a little bit stronger than what they have shown.
Pretty tough schedule now. They play Memorial.
They play a very tough schedule. They're going against a PSJ Memorial team that can play some good D.
Yeah.
They've had a little bit of bad luck on some calls.
Yes, they have. And they couldn't stop Vela because nobody has stopped Vela yet. And we're going to talk about them in a little while. I like Bocanegra as a playmaker. I like quarterbacks, very efficient. This is another one of those games like the one we talked about before, PSG North and Weslaco. I think both of these teams have what it takes to contend for maybe, if district title, maybe, but certainly a playoff spot. But you've got to get out to 1-0 start against a team that's going to be right there with you the whole way. This is a big first week.
And, this team, I mean, what you're going to see from PSG Memorial is that they can throw the ball, but they also run the ball.
Good balance. Trevino's great. Yeah.
And Economies, they're not the typical slot T or what.
They'll put it up a little bit. Hey, Teo Wadiola, man, he's liable to throw it. He's liable to run it. He's liable to he's going to stop and drop kick like Doug Flutie. You don't know what that kid's going to do next. Plus, he's a good basketball player as well.
Yeah,
and a senior. So which team is going to take a step forward and which is going to take a step back? That's kind of the theme of the evening. Okay, 36A, Lincoln at Rowe. Rowe has lost 3 in a row and they're not scoring a lot of points. Is this the week they get it going?
This is a good game to start with. If I'm going to start with any game in district, let's start with
Lincoln's 0-4. That's right.
So yeah, I think that this is where they get back. They get back some of that
little mojo, little momentum.
Because 1-3. I mean, we talked about them so well after that first.
Yeah, it was astounding.
And they've. I think they lost a little bit of their way, but they played some tough teams.
Yeah, they have played tough teams. Good, gracious, King is tough. Did they play King?
No, PSG Memorial and Laredo United, right?
United. That was a bad thing. Yeah. Although apparently Bosco's had a good game, but the fact remains, 12, 14, and 16 points for Rowe. They will eventually score more than that consistently, and it may be against Lincoln that they get it going. Memorial 3-1 at La Jolla 1-3. Which La Jolla team will show up, Jake?
Look, it's if the La Jolla team that showed up against Weslaco East is able to slow down Trevor Spinks. Now,
right, yes.
And we'll talk about
solve the riddle of the Spinks, and you will bring me the broomstick of the Wicked Witch.
Look, Trevor's just coming back from FSU, where he got to watch that great game against Clemson. But look, I don't think that Memorial is going to have a letdown. I think Memorial, after losing that first game to Sherryland, they've really come back strong.
They're on a roll since, and let me tell you the matchup situation there. La Jolla, like many defenses in the Valley, is not very big. Memorial's offensive line is pretty big, and they'll drive you out the way, man. They pop you, they sit you up, get under your pads, and sometimes they even drive block on a bygone tradition, right? So that's not a good matchup for La Jolla, but they have good speed on defense. They've got a passing game that's encouraging. Let's see, because this is the team that got beat 59-7 by Vela 2 weeks ago and turned around and played East Wood.
If you've seen your last article on the Memorial game, it wasn't just Trevor running the ball.
No, man, they got a lot of kids.
And we watched one time when they lined up with 4 guys in the backfield.
Yeah, exactly. What do you do? Are they going to run the wishbone? What are they going to do here? That's incredible. Yeah.
So, I like what they do because they can mix it up. I mean, when you have big, tall receivers on the outside, you've got a nice slot receiver, you've got a quarterback.
They got the basketball connection.
Yes.
Sanchez, Talamantes, and DJ Johnson. That's pretty good right there. They can all run and jump, and as long as they catch their passes, they're going to be great. I think Memorial's looking good. I'm not going to say I think I'm going to pick them to win district. Let's see what McAllen does and see what a few other teams do. Now, McAllen 2-2, coming off that tough game against Carroll, got Mission at 1-3. Comments?
Well, we saw Mission play, and against an Edinburgh team that I don't know if we didn't think they were going to win a game, but it was going to be very tough for them to win a game.
And they did. So let's give them the props. Yeah. Edinburgh takes a win at home, 2-0.
They held Mission to 0. So I mean that it has to say something about Mission. Now, Mission kind of has to forget that game and get back on track. I mean, it's district.
What they need to do is, I'd say what they need to do. Man, listen to the big shot here. I was impressed with the kid 4, the back, David Flores, and I was impressed with this kid Morales, number 5. That Henry Morales, he made like 15 tackles. He was everywhere. He's a safety, but he came up and hit like a linebacker. I thought that guy was one of he is worthy of being on the Mission defenses of old. So you got to build around things like that. Don't be intimidated by McAllen. They're only 2-2 now. We know that 2-2 is kind of an asterisk, right?
They played some tough
teams. Yeah, they have.
And they played well. I mean,
they were ahead at the half against the Carroll Tigers.
Yeah. Look, the Harlingen game, they came back and won that with the last, 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this is a team that can win late. They play tough games. So I don't know if they're going to be too afraid of Mission.
Well, they're playing on the road, so that always seems to do something. McAllen's has got to wipe the taste off, or the bitter taste, as they say, of that 235 yards allowed in the third quarter to Carroll. Now, Carroll's a good team with some athletes, so that's not a total shame, but they don't want that to be the signature heading into district. They need to change that around, and Mission is the first team they get. Okay, let's go south, driving south, as they used to sing. Lopez at Los Fresnos. Now, these teams we're going to talk about, most of them have been off for a week. So first off, how does the benefit of the week of rest, how does it sit well with the teams? Probably, like you said last week, it's a good thing in the main.
Yeah, it is right now because, it's not like Los Fresnos was really.
Where do I line up? No,
Yeah.
I hope not.
They've had time to fix all those, those little things that, just were hurting them all around.
Example, this play doesn't work.
Yes.
Right? The coaches will sit around and go, we just can't run that trap, coach, until X can do Y to Z. So let's do this instead. They can also say, man, don't you think that kid will make a guard instead of a linebacker? Bang, there you go. So you don't want to start throwing things to the wind, but a week or 2 weeks gives you a chance to tinker with things and get it the way you want it, because it's your team and it's your results. So you better do what you want.
Yeah. Look, I think now you're going to see, Los Fresnos had 2 weeks to look at the Lopez tape, and they're going to go, okay, we know we can exploit, and they have a big, huge line.
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to push Lopez around.
Yeah, they might do that. Lopez has showed that at times they can score, but it gives up a lot of points against the Los Fresnos teams that scored 35 the last two outings, 35 and 35 being 70 last time I looked. That's potentially a bad style matchup there. Okay, Brownsville Veterans at 2-1 at South 1-2. Now, South was one of those teams that we thought, just based on the last couple of years, they were going to be this and that. It's time for that team to show what it's got, because Vets is tough. Vets not bad at all.
Vets Vets is deeper than what Harlingen South is right now.
Yeah, true. That's going to be the bugaboo for South.
You really couldn't say that before about Brownsville schools.
No, not at all.
But against Harlingen South, because they're running with low numbers, they're playing great with low numbers. They've got to be able to sustain that for 4 quarters. And that's the hard part with them, because they're running 18, 19, 20 guys out there. They're going to have to sustain it for 4 quarters.
So what that means is you best get ahead, probably, right? Because if you're going to get tired, you will, you're going to have to start scrambling at the end, and you need that lead. You need that lead in the fourth. Well, I'm interested in that game. That's a good one. So is Harlingen at Rivetta. I can point to you a time in the early 90s, one time when Rivetta beat Harlingen late in the season. It was the biggest upset in the world. That program's tough, man. They've played better than that record would indicate. So
they're not an 0-3 team.
Will they give Harlingen a hard time? You say Harlingen's just 1-2 now. I mean, I know they're Harlingen, but still.
Yeah, they're not playing. They're not playing with the same kind of teams they've had in the past. 6 years, 8 years.
Right. Yeah.
This is a different team. I mean, this is I don't want to say rebuilding, but it's an injured team. So
this is true.
They're having to find people to put into different spots, move guys around, play double spots. Put offense, defense. This is going to be a tough game for them, because Rivetta, we saw them play it.
They're scrappy, man. They'll be in the game unless something weird happens. Now, here's the thing about Harlingen. 0-2, everybody's like, this and that. They found a way. Even though it was a bad punt snap, they took advantage of it late in the game. Medina goes in from the 16, and they found a way to win. What you don't want to do is let a wounded tiger up, because he's liable to claw you to death. So if Harlingen gets moving, I still feel they can be a great football team. Dominic Freeman. Who is this character? Dominic Freeman had a couple of big plays for the Cardinals against Weslaco. Will he continue that? They need a spark. They need a spark, and if this kid's going to go to the house on a kickoff and run one for a long way, that's the kind of thing they need to kind of get the fire burning again. But like I said, once they do, you better look out.
Yeah. And, I like this next game that we're going to talk about, which is San Benito versus Hanna. Because, it's a I want to say a rookie coach, but a new coach at San Benito going against a legend, René Medrano.
That's right. And Hanna's not too shabby. We talked about the weapons they had. We wonder whether they have the defense to hang in there. So far, they've played some pretty competitive games, won a couple of ball games. It's a pick-em. It's a toss-up. This is Economides PSJ Memorial in the other district, meaning one of these teams is going to be in the race, maybe both. But the team that's probably going to be in the race is going to win this game, because you start out 1-0 and you bow off all the people and you Heisman them up, and all of a sudden you're right there and you got 3 or 4 wins, you're in.
Yeah. I do like what San Benito has done, though, because they've gone from traditional spread offense. They're running kind of what PSG Memorial does, where you don't know they're a run pass.
Multiple, as
yeah. And they've done really well this year. I mean, for a team.
Tough schedule. They fell behind. They've showed they can come back. So now district starts again. Nobody has a loss and nobody has a win. Time to reestablish your credentials. Now, before we go to the break, Jake, I want to take a second, because we're in Harlingen territory, to mention the passing of a friend of mine and one of the great coaches in the history of the Valley, Tom Morton. And we're going to have you read a little something here on the website. We're going to put up a story about Tom. He was a coach down here for almost 40 years, mostly at Marine Military Academy. Came from the famous Morton clan, which gave more thrills and chills, and continues to give more thrills and chills than any family I can think of right off the bat. Let me tell you, Jake, he was he was a very self-effacing, selfless person who was very strong and successful nonetheless. And that's why he stands out, because, you know, through his career, he was always known as a guy who was a straight shooter and a tough guy, but also a pretty sweet guy and a family man too.
You got along with him when he was here?
Yeah, man, everybody got along with Tom. Now, you know, he was at MMA. He started working for his father, the gunnery sergeant, the great Jim Morton Sr., who came here in '69. They pretty much revolutionized MMA. One of the brothers, Mike Morton, coached there. Jimmy Morton, a pretty good friend of mine, coached at Harlingen South and Harlingen. So the Mortons have a long lifeline here in the Valley. They have contributed a ton to football and other sports. Nate and Jake Morton, I mean, you can go on and on. Jimmy Morton, the quarterback, now the third, Morton the third at Harlingen South. So let me just sum it up for you. He was a man good enough to make it in the pros. He was 6'6", about 270. He played tackle for Memphis State. Then he played at Texas A&I back when it really was Texas A&I. They won back-to-back championships. They had a beautiful team. Levi Johnson, Ernie Price. They had Eldridge Dickey. They had a great, or Eldridge Small. They had a great team. He got a shot with the Falcons. Was there in camp for a while. Came to coach in the Valley and was just always a tremendous hard worker, a very cerebral, intelligent guy. Gave you some of the best quotes. Tom was a very thoughtful guy. So when he said something, it wasn't just like bromides or, we're going to go lick them, and, you know, it wasn't one at a time stuff. No, he was a neat guy. I really liked him. I enjoy his family, and so I just wanted to pass along our condolences to them. Whenever one of our posse here, the family, the Valley football dies and passes away or is ill, we like to say something about them. And Tom Morton was one of the best, and I'm going to miss him quite a bit. I know a lot of people over there in Harlingen will too. We'll be back.